Drive-in creature features weren't meant to be tidy. They were loud, sweaty, occasionally ridiculous, and absolutely fearless. These films crawled out of an era when eco-panic, atomic anxiety, and grindhouse marketing collided under flickering outdoor screens. Tonight, we descend into the deep end. Bigger creatures, wilder ideas, less restraint. These are drive-in nightmares that dared audiences not to look away. Number 12. The Giant Spider Invasion, 1975. Few drive-in movies embody regional chaos quite like The Giant Spider Invasion. Shot in rural Wisconsin with a shoestring budget and a wild sense of urgency, this film throws subtlety out the window within minutes. Something crashes from space, radiation leaks into the soil, and suddenly enormous tarantulas begin crawling out of barns, basements, and farm fields. The genius, intentional or not, lies in how ordinary everything feels. This isn't a futuristic lab or distant city. It's small-town America, pickup trucks, local sheriffs, ordinary families who don't stand a chance. The spiders themselves range from genuinely unsettling close-ups to infamous low-budget solutions, including a Volkswagen draped in fur and legs, and somehow that only adds to the charm. The film taps directly into 1970s fears about environmental contamination and government secrecy. No one's in control. No one explains anything clearly. The authorities are always one step behind. It's messy, loud, and impatient. Exactly what a late-night drive-in crowd wanted. Critics laughed it off. Audiences didn't. Over time, The Giant Spider Invasion became a cult staple, remembered less for polish and more for nerve. It doesn't ask permission. It just throws spiders at the screen until something sticks, and, against all odds, a lot of it does. Number 11. Squirm, 1976. Squirm proves you don't need giant monsters to create absolute discomfort. Just thousands of ordinary creatures behaving very, very wrong. Set in a damp, isolated southern town, the film begins quietly. A freak electrical accident sends power surging into the ground. The earth responds, and the worms rise. What makes Squirm so effective is its relentless physicality. These aren't abstract threats. They're everywhere, crawling across skin, slipping into homes, pouring through cracks in the floor. The special effects rely heavily on real worms, and that realism makes the film genuinely hard to watch. You don't fear the idea of worms. You fear the sensation of them. There's also a strong undercurrent of decay, rotting houses, broken infrastructure, a town that feels forgotten even before the invasion begins. Humans aren't heroic here. They panic, they scream, they make terrible decisions. The environment feels hostile long before the creatures take over. Released during the height of 1970s eco-horror, Squirm fits perfectly alongside films warning about mankind's interference with nature. But unlike bigger-budget counterparts, it feels meaner, smaller, more intimate. It wants you to squirm in your seat, and it succeeds. Over the years, Squirm has been reclaimed as one of the era's most unsettling creature features, not because it's grand, because it's gross, and sometimes that's far worse. Number 10. Empire of the Ants, 1977. By the late 1970s, drive-in creature films had grown more cynical, and Empire of the Ants wears that cynicism proudly. Loosely inspired by H.G. Wells, this film follows a group of unsuspecting travelers who wander into a coastal nightmare where toxic waste has turned ants into intelligent, man-eating giants. What sets this apart from earlier bug movies is its satirical bite. The humans aren't scientists or soldiers. They're real estate scammers, opportunists, and con artists. And the ants don't just attack. They organize, they control, they enslave. Nature doesn't merely fight back, it takes over. The seaside setting gives the film an eerie, sunlit quality. This isn't darkness creeping in at night. It's horror unfolding in broad daylight. The ants swarm beaches, hotels, and marinas, turning vacation imagery into something deeply unsettling. The film leans hard into 1970s environmental dread. Pollution isn't an abstract issue. It has consequences, and those consequences don't care who deserves them. Empire of the Ants suggests a world where humanity's greed finally meets an enemy that can outthink it. Dismissed on release, the film has since gained cult status for its ambition and unapologetic weirdness. It's not just a monster movie. It's a warning, wrapped in antennae, mandibles, and drive-in excess. Number 9. The Food of the Gods, 1976. The Food of the Gods opens with a deceptively simple idea. Strange, bubbling ooze seeps out of the earth, and animals that consume it begin to grow, rapidly and violently. Rats become the size of bears. Wasps turn into airborne nightmares. Chickens and pigs mutate into unstoppable forces. Civilization doesn't crumble slowly. It panics immediately. What makes the film so fascinating is its ugly worldview. Humans aren't victims of bad luck. They're trespassers. Scientists and wealthy landowners arrive at a remote island looking to exploit it, and nature responds without hesitation. There's no mystery villain here, just consequences. The tone is relentlessly grim. Deaths are abrupt. Explanations are thin. Authority figures fail again and again. Director Burt Y. Gordon leans into chaos rather than control, making the film feel unstable, almost hostile to the audience itself. Released during peak eco-horror years, The Food of the Gods reflects real-world fears about pesticides, industrial waste, and unchecked experimentation. It doesn't suggest solutions. It suggests extinction. Critics dismissed it as crude. Drive-in audiences understood it instantly. This wasn't polished science fiction. It was a warning screamed through oversized rodents and exploding nature. And decades later, its anger still feels uncomfortably relevant. The number 8, Night of the Lepus, 1972. On paper, Night of the Lepus sounds ridiculous. Giant rabbits terrorize the countryside. But that's exactly why it works, because it commits completely. Set against wide-open Arizona landscapes, the film transforms one of nature's most harmless animals into a symbol of unchecked scientific arrogance. The plot revolves around overpopulation control gone wrong. Experiments meant to limit rabbit breeding instead cause them to grow to monstrous sizes. The result is surreal. Slow-moving but unstoppable creatures overwhelming farms, highways, and entire towns. What makes Night of the Lepus unsettling isn't speed or gore. It's inevitability. The rabbits don't chase. They advance. They surround. They overwhelm through sheer numbers. Civilization retreats inch by inch, realizing too late that intelligence doesn't matter when nature multiplies faster than solutions. The cast plays everything straight, which only amplifies the dread. There's no winking irony, no apology. The film treats ecological imbalance as a genuine existential threat. Mocked for decades, Night of the Lepus has since earned cult respect. Beneath the fuzzy absurdity lies a very 1970s fear that humanity's attempts to manage nature might be the most dangerous experiment of all. Number 7. Prophecy, 1979. Prophecy feels like the final, angriest gasp of 1970s eco-horror. Set in the foggy forests of Maine, the film centers on industrial pollution poisoning the land, and something massive answering back. A mutated bear stalks the woods, deforming life and killing indiscriminately. Unlike earlier creature films, Prophecy leans heavily into body horror. Mutations are grotesque. Birth defects are shown without restraint. The monster itself is less a spectacle and more a consequence made flesh. Nature isn't just angry, it's sick. The atmosphere is thick with dread. Logging camps feel cursed. Rivers feel contaminated. Even human bodies seem fragile under the weight of industrial damage. Scientists and corporations argue while the forest quietly prepares its response. Released at the very end of the decade, Prophecy reflects a shift from camp to despair. There's no sense that things can be fixed easily. The damage is already done. Initially misunderstood, the film has been reappraised as one of the most serious-minded creature features of its era. It doesn't entertain so much as accuse, and that may be why it lingers longer than most. Number 6. Attack of the Crab Monsters, 1957. Few films prove how far imagination can stretch a tiny budget like Attack of the Crab Monsters. Produced by Roger Corman at lightning speed, the film traps a small group of scientists on a remote island where radiation has done something deeply unnatural. Crabs have grown to enormous size. Worse, they've absorbed human intelligence. This is where the film crosses from simple monster movie into outright nightmare logic. The crabs don't just attack, they talk, they reason, they manipulate. Victims' memories echo through them, turning the creatures into walking reminders of scientific hubris. The island setting amplifies the tension. There's nowhere to go, supplies run low, trust erodes quickly. The human characters feel increasingly small and powerless, not just against the monsters, but against the knowledge that they helped create them. Visually, the film is pure drive-in scrappiness, rubber claws, clever framing, and shadow-heavy compositions that hide more than they show. But the ideas are unsettling enough to compensate. Radiation isn't just destructive here, it's transformative in the worst possible way. Initially dismissed as cheap exploitation, Attack of the Crab Monsters has since earned respect for its eerie concepts. It suggests a chilling possibility, that nature doesn't just adapt to humanity's mistakes, it learns from them. Number 5, The Blob, 1958. The Blob is simplicity perfected. No claws, no eyes, no face. Just a growing, unstoppable mass that absorbs everything in its path. What begins as a meteorite curiosity quickly becomes a town-wide catastrophe, swallowing people whole and leaving nothing behind. What makes the film endure is its pure momentum. The Blob never negotiates, never hesitates. It expands relentlessly, scene by scene, feeding on disbelief as much as flesh. And the bright Technicolor visuals make it even more disturbing. This isn't hidden in shadows. It's right there, pulsing under fluorescent lights. There's also a subtle generational tension at play. Teenagers see the danger first. Adults dismiss it. Authority fails repeatedly until the threat becomes undeniable. That frustration mirrors 1950s youth culture beginning to challenge complacency and denial. Unlike many atomic age monsters, the Blob has no origin tied clearly to punishment or morality. It simply is. That randomness makes it terrifying. There's no lesson to learn, only survival. Originally released as a modest B picture, the Blob became a drive-in sensation and later a pop culture icon. Its power lies in restraint, no explanation overload, no unnecessary complexity. Just one horrifying idea, growing larger until the screen and the audience can't contain it anymore. Number 4. The Tingler, 1959. The Tingler isn't just a movie, it's an experience. William Castle designed it to attack the audience directly, blurring the line between screen and seat. The premise is outrageous and brilliant. A parasite that feeds on fear and lives inside the human spine, growing stronger when screams are suppressed. Vincent Price anchors the madness with complete sincerity. As a scientist investigating fear itself, he guides viewers through a world where terror becomes measurable and exploitable. The creature, once unleashed, slithers loose in a movie theater, turning the act of watching into part of the horror. Castle's famous gimmicks, buzzers under seats, planted screamers in the crowd, made the Tingler unforgettable. The audience wasn't safe. Silence was dangerous. Participation was mandatory. Beneath the carnival showmanship lies a clever idea. Fear thrives when unexpressed. Suppression is what allows monsters to grow. It's a psychological concept wrapped in rubber and shock tactics. Critics scoffed, audiences screamed, and decades later, The Tingler remains one of the most inventive drive-in horrors ever made, not because of realism, but because it understood the most important rule of all. The scariest thing in the room isn't the monster, it's the audience itself. Number 3. Them, 1954. Them is the moment creature features grew up. What begins as a mysterious police investigation in the New Mexico desert slowly reveals something far worse. Giant ants, mutated by atomic testing, breeding beneath the earth. The gradual unveiling is key. For nearly half the film, audiences feel unease before they see the threat. When the ants finally appear, they are terrifying, not just in size, but in implication. These aren't rampaging beasts acting on instinct. They are organized, social, relentless. Humanity isn't fighting a monster, it's confronting a rival species born from its own experiments. The film's semi-documentary tone gives it weight. Scientists, soldiers, and law enforcement work together with grim seriousness. There's no camp here, no humor, just procedure and fear. Nuclear power is treated as a mistake that cannot be undone, only managed. The climax, set in the storm drains of Los Angeles, feels claustrophobic and urgent. Civilization itself becomes the battleground, suggesting that no place is safe once nature adapts to human arrogance. Them wasn't just a hit, it set the template. Serious science, serious consequences. It convinced audiences that monster movies could be intelligent, frightening, and socially relevant. Nearly every creature feature that followed owes it a debt. Number 2. The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms, 1953. If one film ignited the atomic monster boom, it was The Beast from 20,000 Fathoms. A nuclear test in the Arctic awakens a prehistoric creature frozen for millions of years. Radiation doesn't create the monster, it unleashes it, and once released, there's no putting it back. Ray Harryhausen's stop-motion work gives the beast a physical presence that still holds up. It moves with weight, purpose, rage. When it stomps through New York City, the destruction feels mournful rather than thrilling, as if humanity is watching the consequences of its curiosity play out in real time. What makes the film powerful is its sense of inevitability. The warning comes early. Scientists plead to be heard. Authorities hesitate. By the time action is taken, it's too late. The creature's rampage feels less like an attack and more like a delayed reaction to mankind's intrusion. The tone is somber, almost tragic. The beast isn't evil, it's displaced, awakened by forces it doesn't understand. In that way, the film reframes the monster as collateral damage. This movie didn't just influence creature features, it helped birth the entire giant monster genre. Without it, there is no modern kaiju cinema. It's ground zero. Number 1. The Giant Gila Monster, 1959. At the bottom of the drive-in food chain, and somehow at the top of memory, the giant Gila monster represents the raw, scrappy soul of creature features. A radioactive reptile grows to absurd size and terrorizes a small Texas town. There's no spectacle city, no military operation, just kids, cars, and panic. The monster itself is famously limited. Often shown as a real lizard composited over miniature landscapes, it shouldn't work. And yet, it does, because the film understands its audience. This isn't about realism, it's about energy. Teenagers take center stage. Rock and roll blares. Authority figures feel overwhelmed. The town feels alive in a way bigger budget films often didn't. There's a sense of youthful rebellion colliding with atomic anxiety, capturing the late 1950s cultural shift perfectly. The simplicity becomes its strength. The danger is immediate. The stakes are personal. You feel the fear because the world is small and familiar. Mocked for decades, the giant Gila monster survives because it embodies drive-in cinema at its purest: fast, cheap, loud, and unforgettable. It didn't need perfection. It needed impact, and it got it. Drive-in creature features weren't built to last forever, but somehow they did. Long after the screens went dark, these monsters kept crawling through memory, fear, and imagination. They were warnings, distractions, and midnight thrills all at once, and once you've seen them, they never really stop watching you.